Hello everyone, my name is Sandesh Kumar and my roll number is 2010 IPG86. Our topic of discussion is genetically modified crops. As we have already discussed about the human health impacts and the environmental effects of genetically modified crops in our previous discussion, hence we are continuing our discussion with the current Indian scenario of GM crops, and also we have conducted an online survey to estimate the awareness of youth towards the genetically modified crops.
I am Chandrika Gupta and my roll number is 24. So here we talk about genetical modified crops. So genetical food are the food which are derived from genetically modified organisms. Modified organisms have had specific changes introduced into their DNA by genetical engineering techniques. These techniques are much more precise than mutation breeding, where the organism is exposed to radiation or chemical to create a non-specific but stable changes. Genetical engineering offers very fast method for alteration of crops as compared to traditional methods. Here we also describe some of the advantage of genetically modified food. With the help of genetically modified food, we increase the taste and quality. Maturation time is reduced. The nutrition is also increased. This helps the farmers for their efficiency. New product and growing techniques, drought tolerance, helps tempt out famine. BT cotton in India. BT cotton is one of the famous products produced from genetic engineering. India approved BT cotton in 2002 and within a few years yield were up dramatically. Most of the yield increase happened between 2002 to 2005. In the last 4 years, the BT has risen from 67% to 92% of India's cotton and yield have dropped steadily.
Hi, I am Siddharth Bhatia, IPG 2010118, and I will be giving my presentation on genetically modified food with my friends. Protests in India. In past few years, there has been a mass protest against GM crops all over India. Figure 1 is from Bhubaneswar. Here, the farmers and scientists who oppose BT brinjal are unhappy that instead of totally rejecting the GM crops, there has been only a ban on BT brinjal. The ban is only on one variety of BT brinjal, and that too on commercial release and not on a research. Figure 2 is from Hyderabad. Here the farmers were against the open field trials of GM crops and a monopoly exercised by the company Monsanto in hiking the price of cotton seeds from Rs 100 to 1800. Figure 3 is from Kurukshetra. Here farmers are protesting against open air field trials of GM corn. Technical experts committee's report on GMO. After mass protests against GM crop all over India, the fate of genetically modified crop in India has been virtually sealed. A panel of technical experts appointed by Supreme Court has recommended a 10-year ban on field trials of all GM food. The technical experts committees made specific recommendations. Specific sites have been designated for conducting field trials. A panel of scientists qualified in evaluation of biosafety data of GM crops are appointed. Requirement for preliminary biosafety tests prior to field tests.
After the ban on GM field trials, the next important decision was taken in the direction of labeling of GM food products to ensure that the public has a clear choice. On the very first day of this year, Indian government made GM food labeling compulsory because many food products in India either coming from the countries or processed in the countries where GM crops are very common. But this is not very successful so far, and no proper rules of labeling has been defined as such. Like if suppose we put the letters GM on the packets of the genetically modified food products, then people can misunderstand it as gram, and also we don't have any facility in India to test if a product is having GM content and or not. So this is also increase the complexity of the rules. Coming to the survey part, in our society to estimate the awareness and general attitude towards the genetically modified food, we conducted an online survey with the help of Google Forms, and our questionnaire has the questions like how much people know about the genetically modified food and up to what extent they are concerned about the food they are getting. So for this purpose, we targeted our friends on the social networking sites and sent them the link of the form and requested them to fill that. We started collecting responses for this questionnaire about 1 month ago. Until now, we have collected a total of 127 responses. So as you can see, this is a large list, so this is not possible to analyze all of the responses one by one. So here we are showing the summarized result of the responses we have collected so far. First of all, let us summarize about the people who responded us. Out of 127 people who responded, 102 are males and the rest 25 are females. Coming to the age groups, 104 are of age group 19 to 23 years and the rest 13 are of 24 to 28 years. Next we see the education part of those people. 65 are undergraduate students of all those and 51 are postgraduate students. As these things are quite obvious because we choose our Facebook friends for this questionnaire thing. So most of our Facebook friends are either undergraduate students or postgraduate students. Our very first question about GM food was, do you know what genetically modified food is? So in reply to this question, 1/4 of the population replied negatively that they don't know about GM food. But this is of no surprise for me because I also didn't know about GM food before working on this project. But the good thing about it is that like 74% of the population know the meaning of GM food, which is really a good thing. So our next question was, up to what extent do you accept GM food? So according to the results, we can see that most people are okay with the GM food. This shows a high acceptance level of GM food among youth. But the results may be like this because either they don't know the real meaning of GM food or they are unaware of the risk involved in this. Growing GM food is environmentally safe. Now this is a interesting question and the result is also interesting. 38% of the people are in the favor that GM food is environmentally safe. Only total of 26% are against this. Rest 26% are neutral about this. This result is against the well-known fact that there is a lot of risk involved in the GM crops cultivation. So this is quite obvious that the youth of this generation don't know much about the environmental risk involved in the cultivating GM crops. Coming to the next question, what do you think about the importance of labeling GM food? So in reply to this question, as a good consumer, 69% of people said that there should be a proper label if any food product contains any GM content. But 30% of other people said that this is useless or they don't care about the labeling in GM food. This shows that either they are not much concerned or they are unaware of the risks involved in GM food.
The question was, which of the following terms have you heard about? Because most of the people in the survey are of engineering background, they have some idea about the terms genetic engineering, hybridization, cloning, and transgenic. If you see that a food is labeled genetically modified, would you still buy it? This pie chart gives an indication of acceptance of GM food by people. As we can see, 60% of people agree to buy GM food while 40% are not taking a risk of buying it. Which of the following types of GM food do you accept? As we can see, only small number of people know about the term transgenic and hence would not take risk to accept it. Will GM food overtake the non-GM counterparts as the majority? That was a tricky question and hence many people were neutral, precisely 33%. 39% agree and 9% strongly agree that GM food will overtake non-GM food in future. Will GM food would save world hunger? While 49% agree and 12% strongly agree that GM food would save world hunger, 30% have no idea and hence are neutral. With proper research and development, GM food could save world hunger, but in current scenario, it is gambling with human lives.